Welcome to another edition of Bet with Bobano. It is Wednesday, May 22nd. Ian Cameron with you. Connor Mack will be along momentarily. We're back. We were not on Monday. It was a holiday here north of the border, so we didn't have a show on Monday, but we are back here on this Wednesday. MLB, NBA playoffs will be the focus on the show, as it usually is at this time of year. We've still got a lot of baseball left. We've had a bunch of day games today, but we've still got some more games still to come here on this Wednesday. The majority of the card is still left. So we'll get right into it with the remainder of the MLB card, and we will begin with the San Diego Padres taking on the Cincinnati Reds. Michael King on the mound for the Padres. Nick Martinez getting the start here for the Cincinnati Reds. We've got the Padres about minus 125 to minus 130, road favorites. 9.5, the total shaded to the under. Michael King was rolling for the, well, I shouldn't say rolling. He had a couple of really great starts in a row for the San Diego Padres. And before that, he actually got roughed up by the Phillies and the Rockies. And then he pitched back-to-back starts without giving up a run against the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers. But then he faced the Rockies in his last start, and he got absolutely crushed. 6 runs, 8 hits, 5.1 innings. It was an 8-0 beatdown at the hands of the Rockies. So a little bit of rough sledding there for Michael King. Meanwhile, Nick Martinez on the mound for the Reds. He hasn't been very good in the last three starts he's had. He hasn't started in about a month. April 30th was the last time we saw Nick Martinez on the mound, and he did struggle. This is actually a guy that used to be with the Padres, so you'd think maybe familiarity with this lineup might help him tonight, but his form just hasn't been very good. I mean, he's given up 15 runs, 25 hits over the last 16 innings. I mean, when you're giving up 15 runs, 25 hits in 16 innings, you're almost giving up a run per inning. You're giving up way over at least a hit per inning. You know you're not in good form. You know you're not pitching well, and certainly Nick Martinez isn't. So I like the over here, 9.5. It's a very warm night in a lot of these ballparks, Midwest and Northeast. A bit of a late spring, I guess you could say, heat wave has enveloped most of the Midwest and the Northeast. So warm temperatures. Could be a little bit more hitter-friendly conditions tonight. So I like the over there when it comes to the Padres and the Reds. I was on the Reds last night, but I don't trust Nick Martinez, and I'm not ready to lay with Michael King either. So I do think we'll see some runs, 2 pitchers, not exactly in the best of form right now. We move along. Next up, San Francisco and Pittsburgh. We've got the Pirates minus 125, minus 130 home favorites, 7.5 the total. Blake Snell, the lefty for the San Francisco Giants. Jared Jones for the Pittsburgh Pirates. I'm a big fan of Jared Jones, actually, for Pittsburgh. He's kind of a bet-on pitcher for me. You know, I've liked what I've seen. He's given his team a chance to win. The Pirates have alternated wins and losses with Jones on the mound, but he's pitched well enough in most of these games to earn the victory. He's given up 3 runs or less in each of his last 5 starts, so he's given his team a chance each time out. We'll see if he can keep that solid consistency going tonight against San Francisco. Meanwhile, you got Blake Snell, the lefty for the Giants, and hasn't been a good start to the season for him. Now, remember, he's a guy that was signed in the offseason by the Giants. Some kind of expectations for him coming off, a decent run last year. But you look at Snell in those first 3 starts, none of them were really that good. He only lasted 3 innings against Washington, gave up 3 runs. Then he got absolutely crushed by his old team, Tampa Bay, gave up 7 runs, 6 hits in 4 innings. And then in his last start against Arizona, April 19th, 5 runs, 9 hits, 4.2 innings. So say it's been rough for Blake Snell in a starting role here with his new team would be an understatement. We'll see how he fares here in this one. But, you look at the numbers so far for him. Obviously, it hasn't been great. 11.57 ERA on the season. We'll see and this is his return now to the rotation. So we'll see if he's ready to improve and get back on the beam again, because those first few, remember, this is a guy that's won the Cy Young twice. So we'll see how he fares here. Injury plague, bad start to the year for him. He hasn't started in over a month. We'll see if he's able to hit the reset button, but I got to see it before I believe it. And I like Jones, so by default, I like Pittsburgh. I'm going to go first 5 full game Money line split here in this game with the Pittsburgh Pirates around minus 125, minus 130. I think it's a good side here. I certainly favor Jones over Snell. Not necessarily sold on what we're going to expect here from Blake Snell tonight against this Pirates team. Pirates aren't the greatest against lefties, but boy, I'll tell you what, if Blake Snell is anything close to what he resembled in his first three starts, remember, he's thrown a lot of innings. He's an older, he's not the young guy he once was. So I'm not necessarily sold on, wow, he's been out now for a month. He's just going to find it again. I'm going to need to see it before I'm convinced. All right, next up, Texas, Philadelphia, a little interleague action here. Taijuan Walker for the Phillies, Dane Dunning for the Texas Rangers. We've got Philadelphia minus 125, home favorites, 10 the total in this game. I'm not a big fan of Taijuan Walker, I can tell you that. Certainly not interested in laying a price here with him. I know the Phillies are red hot. They're 8-2 in their last 10, and that's all part of just a scalding hot 35-14 to begin the season here for the Philadelphia Phillies. So they're not an easy team to bet against, especially with that great lineup that they have, which is as potent as it gets. But I'm still not totally enamored with Taijuan Walker. He labored in his last start against the Mets. The pitch count got up. He had command and control problems. He only went 3.1 innings, 2 runs, 4 hits. By the way, 4 straight Taijuan Walker starts have gone over the total. That is something also worth mentioning. Meanwhile, you got Dane Dunning, and look, the Rangers are 4-1 in his last 5 starts. He's very much like we talked about with Jared Jones earlier. He has given his team a chance to win most nights. He really hasn't had that one horrible game, that one horrible start. He's usually going to pitch, 5 innings, maybe 6, and he's going to give up 2 or 3 runs. That has been the pattern this year for Dane Dunning. He's a serviceable, solid, above average major league starting pitcher. That's kind of what I've envisioned him being for the last few years. I certainly think that's good enough to get the better of Walker, in my opinion. So I think Texas at the plus money here as an underdog at a plus price, first 5 full game split. I think it's worth a look. Certainly the total going up from 9.5 to 10. I understand it. It's a very balmy night again in Philadelphia, like it is, like I said, for much of the Northeast. We're talking about very unseasonably warm temperatures for late May. It's not usually this hot right away here in the late part of May. And when it's that way, obviously you would think it benefits the hitters a little bit. So I could see the ball flying a little bit here with these two teams tonight. So I do like over as well, 9.5 up to 10 now with the total here in this game. All right, Milwaukee and Miami. Brewers, Marlins, Freddie Peralta, Jesus Luzardo, the pitching matchup here. Milwaukee minus 130, road favorites, 7 the total here, bet down from 7.5. And, they're 2 obviously very capable pitchers. There's no question about that. Jesus Luzardo, he's kind of been an enigma at times where walks have been an issue. Once in a while, he gets in trouble with the home run ball, but he does have very good stuff. And he has definitely shown in his last 3 starts for the Miami Marlins that he does have very good stuff. He's given up 2 runs or less in 3 straight starts for Miami. So he does come into this game in some very, very good form. The Brewers are only hitting a paltry 225 against lefties. In fact, this has been a long-term issue for the Brewers. They're not always a lineup you can rely on against lefty pitching. So I think from a matchup standpoint, it sets up all right here for Luzardo tonight against Milwaukee. Meanwhile, Freddie Peralta, someone that, historically has been one of the better arms in this Brewers rotation. But he's labored a little bit the last 3 starts. Brewers just 1-2 in those 3 games. Against the Cubs, he went 5 innings, gave up 3 runs. Against St. Louis, 3 runs, 8 hits, 6 innings. It was one of those deals where he only gave up 3 runs, but watching it, it looked like he was just dodging his way out of trouble repeatedly in that game against St. Louis. And then in the last start, you could kind of see it. He's been good, but he's also been a little fortunate, gotten out of some jams on the base paths. And would that eventually catch up to him a little bit? You could say maybe it did against Houston in his last start. Peralta gave up 5 runs, 8 hits, 5 innings, gave up a couple of home runs too. So I definitely think there's a bit of a starting pitching edge for Miami. I get it. They're a bad baseball team. Milwaukee's 28-20, Miami's 16-34. I get it, but you actually start to look at the Marlins shorter term. I know the overall season's been a dreadful one for them, but 6-4, they actually have a winning record in their last 10 games. And like I said, Luzardo for them has pitched well enough in the last 3 starts to give his team a chance. So I like Miami a little bit here. First 5 full game split, short home underdog. Just think that Luzardo a little bit better form right now. And again, the Brewers not always prolific against lefty pitching. So I think Miami might be worth a look here. And keep in mind, too, that Miami offense is starting to hit a little bit. You know, they've started to put up some runs. Look what they did against the Mets. 2 of those games they won and they scored 8 or more. They put up a 5 spot against Milwaukee last night, even though they lost 7-5. So, you know, the Marlins are starting to hit the ball a bit. So that's a good sign for them. I think they're live here tonight as a home underdog. All right, we go to Boston and Tampa Bay. Brian Bayo, Ryan Pepio, the pitching matchup here. Red Sox, Rays, Tampa Bay, -140. Home favorites at the Trop, 7.5 the total in this game. Brian Bayo, you know, someone that I think's got the capability to be pretty good, but you just never know when that's going to be. I mean, there's just so much inconsistency after all this time still in his game. There's no doubt. And you look at the last start against St. Louis, wasn't very pretty. He gave up 5 runs, 7 hits, and lasted only 4.2 innings against the St. Louis Cardinals. We'll see if he can bounce back. He actually pitched pretty well for the most part before that. Meanwhile, Ryan Pepio, weird situation where he only lasted 2 innings against the Mets. He really didn't pitch that great. He actually exited that game pretty early against the Mets, and we'll see if he can pick things up and round back into form. You know, he's activated off the 15-day injured list. So again, that start against the Mets was back on May 5th. So he's missed, you know, basically about 17 days. They had to skip him when his spot in the rotation came around the last time. So hasn't started in 17 days. We'll see how he fares if he's in that sort of a rhythm. I can tell you this, though. This has not been a good team to face for Bayo, for Boston. 6.92 ERA in his career against the Tampa Bay Rays. Bayo has not done a nice job here against Tampa Bay. He struggled against them. So, you know, I don't know if I love the price enough to bet it, but I would lean Tampa Bay a little bit here with Pepio on the mound. But my one concern with Pepio, though, is, again, 17 days since that start against the Mets when he left early due to that injury. So will he be sharp? But I know Bayo has had a rough track record here against Tampa Bay. So I would lean Rays a little bit. We got CMAC in the house here on Bet with Bobano. CMAC, the first few games, I just went through them. I'll just go one by one with you, starting with San Diego, Cincinnati, Padres and Reds, King versus Martinez. Anything you like there?
No. Yeah, I don't know if we could get any runs. Martinez is awful, and he pitched great against the Dodgers. It seems like, can he do that twice? I know it's a former team. He gave up 3 earlier this year. And he seems like he gives some. It seems like just take them or their team total. But I don't know. I just can't trust this Padres team at all. And King, on the other hand, he's consistent guy to get into a rhythm. Like once he gets going, and it seems like his starts are fine. It's just he gets kind of off bad, and they've been bad. So this one's tough. I kind of like the Reds. It's just you kind of have to put Martinez out of the question because I think there's some value with him, but I'm off that game.
All right, next one for CMAC. Giants and Pirates, Snell and Jones. I've already made the case for Jones and the Pirates here. I believe that kid's pitched pretty well. I think they're worth a look here.
Yeah, well, it's a little bit like the Rays. This number's better. It's just they're this price, a little bit -120 for me. Because Snell, we all know how good he could be. He's just got rocked. He's on the IL. Now he's coming back. I want nothing to do with him. Maybe he pitches well. And Jones has been good. Yeah. So I do think it's a Pirates type game. And this is a game like I'd be on the under. It's a little 7.5. But I don't know what I get from Snell. I mean, he got tattooed. He wasn't sharp. You know, he was walking people. I think he gave up 6 one game and 4 in those start. He didn't look well. So yeah, Pirates though or nothing in that one. Lean under.
All right, Rangers and Phillies. I made a case for Texas in the over. here in this game with Dunning versus Taijuan Walker. I'm not laying a price with Taijuan Walker. It's just not. I know Philly's red hot, but that's just not something I'm doing with that guy. And Dunning is what he is. He's serviceable. He's going to give up 3 runs and go 5-6 innings. It's what he does consistently. He gives his team a chance. I think Texas is worth a look. Probably goes over, even though it's a high total. What do you think there?
Philly's red hot. This is telling too.
Yeah.
Everyone's betting him, and this number's coming down. So I think the Rangers. First 5, maybe even full game. I don't love their bullpen, but I just think, can we get to Walker? We talk about Walker is a little bit better at home. I've always thought through the years, and always better in the first half than the second half. But I think the Rangers get to him. And this lineup has just been disappointing this year. I mean, I know they won the World Series, a little bit of hangover, but they're showing with all the props in this game, man, that he's going to get hit. I mean, like Garcia, all these are crazy numbers to take. Like, I thought Seager was a decent one with his RBI at plus 120 because his 1.5 total base is like, I don't know, minus 120, 130. He's finally getting a little hot, which is good. He's hitting 10 of 11, a couple homers the last few days. So I took his RBI at plus 120. Yeah, I think the Rangers had a good shot, especially first 5 to get some runs and maybe get you. And that's crazy because I've been just either taking the Phillies or taking their team total, mostly their team total, and been cashing. But I think the spot, the Rangers, and I think it's telling this line's come down. It's down to minus 115 spots.
Yep, no doubt. We talked about a road dog in that game. We both kind of like. Next game, I made the case for the home dog. We've got Milwaukee and Miami here with Peralta against Luzardo. And, Peralta, to me, there's 3 starts in a row where he hasn't looked totally right. Like, he labored through a couple of starts there and then finally got rocked pretty good against Houston. But you could see before that he was not exactly, flying through the lineup and just breezing through. He was always in jams and guys on base and getting out of trouble. And then against Houston in his last start, he really struggled, Peralta. Meanwhile, Luzardo, he's given his team a chance to win. Don't look now. Look, Miami, there's some value on them right now. I know they're, 16-34, terrible record overall. But you just look at the short term, they're 6-4 in their last 10 games, the Marlins. They actually have a winning record. And they're starting to put some things together. Like I said, at this price as a small home dog, I definitely lean fish here. What do you think here, Connor?
I get the look because like when normal bettors are going to see this and just want the Brewers. They're just going to say Marlins
Peralta's good, but I don't think he's been great the last 3 starts, Peralta, for them.
Yeah, another road start here. I mean, it is the sorry Marlins. You mentioned they've been hitting better. They have, from just how horrible they were to start the year. And one thing, the Brewers just are bad against lefties. They hit Luzardo last year. I went back and glanced at those starts. It was at September 11th. He gave up 10 hits, 6 earned runs, 4 walks, 5 Ks. So they got to him, at the end of last year. But for the most part, I don't trust this team against lefties. This could be a sneaky one. And kind of the line's telling in this one. I mean, that it's short, that Miami's live in. I think Luzardo could pitch well. I got to see the Brewers consistently start hitting lefties regular, not be like bottom 5 in the league.
Yeah, I agree. That's been a long-term issue. You go back last year, you go back 2 years ago. The Brewers against lefties, bottom 5, bottom 10 in Major League Baseball, pretty much during that span. And then we, when you joined me, Connor, I was talking Red Sox, Rays. That's where you hopped in. What do you think of that one there? Boston, Tampa Bay, Pepio and Bayo.
This sucks. So yesterday I thought there was the good value with the Red Sox as dogs, day one, and I like the under, which was good. 2 pitchers off the IL. This is just the one I want to not, and I like both these pitchers. They both made me good money. And Pepio, I think some of it starts a little bit of rust. This guy's got good stuff. I mean, obviously the Dodgers got Glasnow, but I think that was kind of like only type deal because I was like, that worked out. It was fine. Because I thought they should have kept him. And he should have pitched last postseason, Bobano, but that's a whole nother.
Yes.
I couldn't believe he didn't throw for the Dodgers. Just crazy, best pitcher the last 2 or 3 months. So he's off the IL. I like the Rays here too, but the line's moving. I get it. I mean, you have maybe Rays minus a half here, first 5. A little bit the issue. Bale is a solid pitcher off the IL. What do we get? And the Rays bats have been tough for me. I've even took them a few spots against shitty teams. Minus a half, first 5, and they've shit the bed. The sticks aren't there. I know they're getting a little bit healthier. Both the lows, are back in the lineup. Yanni Diaz, and they got great numbers off Bayo. They hit him well. I got Paredes here. His jack's almost plus 700, 675, and his RBI. This guy's red hot.
Yeah.
Man, as much as the good. Yeah. Yes, Isaac Paredes, baby. Yeah. Isaac. He's hella good. So, but 8 of 10, 2-hit games in all those. Went 3 for 4 last night. He's 2 for 5 out there with a home run. The most consistent in this lineup. And I love it. I mean, he's in the 5-hole tonight. He's been a lot in the 4-hole. How can you not? And the prices like on Diaz and Lowe just aren't great. You're going to continue to give almost plus 200 on his RBI and the homer. Give it to me all day, Isaac.
It's funny. The first RBI time, number. It's funny. I like that bet. I think it makes a lot of sense. He's been hitting great. I remember the first time I saw his name in the lineup for the Rays when he made his debut. And I looked at his name. I'm like, Isaac Paredes. I'm like, hold on now. When I saw Paredes as his last name, I'm like, I don't think it's pronounced Isaac. I just get that feeling. Yeah, that's not how you say it. And sure enough. Yeah.
But the East, I know it's just you get so used to saying shit,
Yeah. Isaac Carpenter, Isaac Johnson, Isaac Adams, if it was one of those kind of last names, yeah, Isaac for sure when it's spelled like that. But Paredes, I'm like, wait a minute, it may not be.
But people are weird. Sometimes they name or give the silliest names, like the widest names. That's crazy too. I've seen. And I kind of scratch your head like, what?
I've spent the last 20, 25 years with him as a broadcaster for CBS and Turner, wondering why he calls himself Ian, talking about Ian Eagle. There you go. Like, I've never heard of that before.
Yeah.
But, hey. Spelled IAN, but it's Ian for him. It's Ian for me, and like 99% of the world spelled IAN, but for him it's Ian. But whatever. It is what it is. And what it is for us now is Mariners-Yankees. Bryce Miller and Nestor Cortez, the pitching matchup. Yankees minus 155. Home favorites, 8 the total. This is home road dichotomy on both sides. Bryce Miller has been terrible, and I like the kid. I think he's going to be good long-term, but he's struggled on the road big time. But he's been good in Seattle, Bryce Miller. But he's not in Seattle tonight. He's at Yankee Stadium, so I'm a little worried. Plus, he got rocked by Baltimore in his last start. 5 runs, 6 hits, 5.1 innings. Like I said, his home ERA is 2.3. His road ERA is over 4 for Bryce Miller. And then Nestor Cortez, he's been terrible on the road for the Yankees. 6.75 ERA, but here at Yankee Stadium, where he's pitching tonight, 1.27 home ERA. He's been lights out. It's been damn near unhittable here at Yankee Stadium, Nestor Cortez. The Mariners aren't the greatest against lefties either, so it's probably a Yankees spot, especially the way they lost last night. That was a tough loss for them against the Mariners. So it's a bounce-back spot. Nestor's good at home. Miller's struggled on the road, so I didn't bet it, but I could probably only look at the Yankees' side here. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, it's just too tricky. I don't really want the Yankees at this price. Like, it's just his struggles on the road. Or it's like, God damn, is the plus 140 enough here to maybe take a shot with Miller? Like, he's due, I think, for a decent start. He's just been what we've seen from him on the road has been awful the last few years.
Yeah,
the last 3 starts, I guess a decent start against Oakland, but so I think he'd be due for a good one. It's just God, the splits have been awful. And Cortez, awesome at home, and he's gotten hit. Seems like he gets up 4 every time he's on the road. This year does Nestor, the Chester molester Cortez. But this was one I lost last night. Maybe we get more runs. Maybe look at Yankees team total instead of the number in this one. I had the under. Gleyber Torres hits a big 3-run bomb. Always the classic that kills an under, and a couple solo bombs from the Mariners. Like, if I could just trust the Mariners bats, like if I had a little bit of trust, like I think take a shot Mariners first 5. It's just nothing's kind of correlating. Everything else is like stay off. So this is the ones that maybe in the end they stay off where you kick yourself if the Mariners can give him some runs off Cortez early.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Like I say, I think there'll be spots for Miller. I'm not sure about tonight, but yeah, it's just too pricey for me as well with the Yankees. Subhuman Gaucho in the chat. What's up? He's been he's been appearing on our Ice Guys live betcast, and we have one tonight for Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Final with the Panthers and the Rangers. So looking forward to that live betcast. Yeah, Connor, I'll shoot you the link for the betcast if you want to join us at some point during it. 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific for game one with the Panthers and the Rangers. All right, next up, we've got White Sox and Blue Jays. Nick Nastrini and Chris Bassett, the pitching matchup. We've got Toronto minus 250, home favorites, 8 the total. There's no freaking way I'm laying minus 250. You can need your head examined if you think I'm going to lay 250 with the Toronto Blue Jays tonight in this game. No way. Can you make a case for the White Sox? White Sox did win yesterday, and a very good start from Garrett Crochet. Continues to be their best starting pitcher. And the White Sox are starting to play a little bit better after that brutal start. Remember, they started 3-22 to begin the season, the White Sox. Since that time, they are 12-12. They are pretty much a 500 team since that point. They split the first 2 games with Toronto. So this is the rubber match tonight against the Jays. But I don't trust Bassett, and I don't trust this lineup at minus 250. The problem, though, with me taking Chicago is Nastrini. I mean, he hasn't started this year, but his numbers are terrible. I mean, 7.88 ERA pitching out of the bullpen this year for the White Sox. That's not any good. So I can't take Chicago with this guy, but there's no way I'm laying any price like this with the Blue Jays. No way. So I'm off the side. I could make a case for the over. But again, these are 2 of the worst lineups in baseball. I mean,
look at this White Sox lineup today.
Yeah, they can't hit. Yeah, they did last night. And then the Blue Jays stopped hitting again. They walloped Fetty on Monday, and then last night they couldn't hit a lick again, the Blue Jays. So, that's why it's very difficult this game. I don't want either side. I lean over because of the 2 pitchers, and Bassett's not been, consistent, and Nastrini's not been good, but these lineups are like 29th and 30th in baseball in runs per game. So tricky game all around. C-Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, I pass. Yesterday was the day, though, to take the White Sox. This lineup is awful. I mean, Gavin Sheets in the 3-hole. Tommy Pham's done all right. I don't know. They got Zach Del Roche up here. Fletcher's in center. Maldonado hasn't hit nothing. I don't think he's played much, but this year, come on. Yeah, and 21-26 Blue Jay team, this price. And maybe they win 9-2.
Yeah.
I don't want them.
No, I don't blame you. It's a tough one. All right, Braves and Cubs.
Is the roof open?
Oh, yeah, it will be. It's warm. Well, there might be some rain later, so maybe you have to double check on that. But temperature-wise, it's warm enough. Definitely.
Yeah.
For the, room.
I noticed it's been open lately.
Yep. It's almost 90 Fahrenheit here in these parts. Like, it's hot. Like, the summer heat has arrived here in southern Ontario in Canada. Like, we're talking 90 Fahrenheit yesterday. It's close to that again today. So it is warm. So as long as there's no rain in the forecast, the roof should be open at Rogers Center tonight for this one. All right, Atlanta, Chicago. We've got Fried and Steele, battle of lefties. Braves minus 135, road favorites, 8.5 the total. I had the Cubs first 5 in full game split last night. I think I lost the first 5, but what a comeback in extra innings for the Cubs. Come back and get the win. I think they're live again tonight. I mean, this Chicago team at home at Wrigley all year has been very good, 15-9 at Wrigley Field. Braves, solid. Obviously, they're having a pretty good season, but 11-10. They're pedestrian on the road. Max Fried, I like Max, but he's another one of these that he can shut you down like he did the Mets. And then last time, what happened to him? His Padres, he labored 3 runs, 9 hits, 4.1 innings, didn't pitch that great, and 3 of the last 4 starts with Fried, the Braves have lost. So keep that in mind. Cubs are decent against both of these teams, actually pretty decent numbers against lefties, but I favor Steele a little bit. Now, I will say this. I will caution you. Steele, since rejoining the rotation, remember, he got hurt in the first game against Texas, and he pitched really good, but he's kind of struggling to find that footing again. He's given up 11 runs his last 2 starts against the Pirates both times. But his numbers against Atlanta are actually not that bad. He's pitched okay against them. I would still look at the Cubs a little bit here, given the price where it is. What do you think here, C-Mac?
Yeah, that was great. The Cubs won yesterday. Like, I think this is tough for me because Fried, I don't know, he could look so dominant, like you were just talking about, and he can get hit. And usually the second half, if he doesn't get hurt, he's usually pretty good. Justin Steele, money pitcher for me for the last 2 years. even the first few starts, he goes on the IL. I've stayed off, and he's gotten hit these last, both against the Pirates, those 2 starts. So I don't know if there's a hamstring is still bothering him.
Might be. Yep.
So it's tough. The wind's blowing out to right. This game still stayed under. One of these pitchers is going to get hit at 9. I still would be on the under until the Braves get hot and start getting overs, regular, which will happen. And one thing they got to feel pretty good, because I don't think they played really good baseball, Bobano, is they're 10 games over 500 or 9. Because it just seems very pedestrian. The lineup Olsen hasn't been good. Ronald Acuna hasn't been good. Austin Riley's been out for a while. He has been great. So once they get humming and scoring runs, I think you jump on the overs will come. But until I see it, even with the wind blowing out and everything, under here.
All right, Colorado, Oakland. We've got Gomber and Spence, the pitching matchup. Oakland -140, home favorites. 8 the total in this one. Spence now, it's actually he's replacing who was originally going to start, so he's making a spot start out of the bullpen. His number's 3.9 ERA out of the bullpen. I don't know what's gotten into Gomber, but my goodness, what a May this guy is having. He's given up just 2 runs, 1 earned run in his last 3 starts here in the month of May. That's 18.2 innings with 1 earned run allowed against Pittsburgh, Texas, and San Diego. He's been really good. I can't see this keeping up, but right now he has pitched well here for the Colorado Rockies. The A's are hitting .203 against lefties. Colorado's been one of those teams where lately I've been betting some of their team totals over, and I've definitely been betting their full game overs because their pitching is still suspect. Their bullpen's not good, but the lineup is smacking right now. I mean, the Rockies' bats are heating up, and not just at home, but on the road. Like they have actually started. Tovar's been on fire. McMahon.
I'm on it.
Yeah. Tovar's been incredible during this run. McMahon's been good for them as well. They've gotten a lot of step up. This lineup now collectively, they're all starting to get going at the same time, and they've been a good offense now for the last handful of games. You go back to May the 11th, 8-3, 5-6, 8, 5-4. Then they got one game where they got shut down. They scored 1 against San Fran over the weekend. Then they had 4 last night in the loss. So they're scoring at least 3-4 runs every game lately. I kind of lean Rockies team total full game over both of those here in this one. C-Mac, what do you think here with Colorado, Oakland?
Yeah, I don't mind that play. Austin Gomber, just one of the better first 5 pitchers the last couple of years. Rockies yesterday, take him first 5. A little bit like the Rangers, why I don't want them full game today. Or just look at the Rangers team total. No. I know it's not great. I mean, it's the 4.5 around -120, 125, but I think that's a solid look. Their bullpen's awful. I can't back them. It happens more times. It's happened to me once or twice where it worked out the other way where they came back and won. But for the most part, they usually will blow it. So I just stick to them first 5. Mitch Spence, I've seen a ton of him here in Vegas. I don't think he's that good. He's pitched okay. And this one, the Rockies have been getting hot. You mentioned Tovar. I got to be on him again. I know he hit 2 homers last night, but in his last 8 games, I think 6 of them at multi-8 games. He's not much of a secret. He's coming out, but his over 1.5 +155. I don't trust Mitch Spence. And what do we get with this ballpark? It's always more unders. I thought the 7.5 was too low last night. A's got there and that got over. But Gomber, I think, could hold them down a little bit. So and the way you were talking, like the A's just haven't been good against lefties. So I'm going to stay off the total, but give it to me. Rockies first 5 here. I got to be on it again.
All right, last game. Yeah, I like it. All right, last game, Arizona, LA Dodgers, Glasnow and Ryan Nelson. And the Dodgers, minus about 280 to -300 as home favorites here, 8 being the total in this one. Here's the thing when it comes to Glasnow. He's a strikeout guy. There's no question about that. But every now and then, he's going to get hit and give up a homer or 2. That seems to be the MO for him. Especially the last couple of years. And that's what we saw with the Cincinnati start last time where, 5 innings, he struck out 8, he strikes out 9, he strikes out 10. He's pretty consistent with that, but he can get hit every now and then. 4 runs, 6 hits, gave up to the Reds in that game. We'll see how he fares here against the Diamondbacks tonight. Meanwhile, you've got Ryan Nelson, who kind of had a struggling, disappointing start to his year. Last start, he got just bombed by Detroit. 8 runs, 11 hits, 4 innings against the Tigers. Not what you want to see He did pitch pretty well against the Dodgers April 9th, actually that was last year, early in the season, 3 runs, 4 at 6 innings, pitched okay. I don't know. We'll see how he fares here. One thing that's interesting, too, about the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers is they've had some high-scoring affairs. So you're getting actually a lower total with this game for a Dodgers game because of Glasnow. But Glasnow can give up a homer or two, and I think Dodgers might get some hits off Nelson and the D-backs' pens. So I'd lean over at 8 here in this one. C-Mac, what do you think? Diamondbacks, Dodgers?
Yeah, I think the Dodgers could get it on their own. Nelson, I just don't buy. I've seen enough of him that he will have a good start thrown in, but I think he could get ripped tonight. But this D-backs lineup, like once they get going, we know Marte's been red hot. Jock Peterson been hot of late. He went deep again. I've been on his RBIs that have come through lately. Christian Walker always is great, especially against lefties. So I think it goes over if he gets hit a little bit, and it might take just a couple from the D-backs because I think the Dodgers probably get 5 or 6. Yeah, so I think it could. The only thing is Glasnow pitches shutout, great game. It's the classic, 6-0 or 6-1, and it could stay under that total. But big number. No, I want the Dodgers, even though they get. I just 300. I don't want them. You'd have to start doing the -2.5, and they got to really be rolling for me to want to be on that.
Yeah, no question. All right, great breakdown there. The MLB card for the rest of the games on this Wednesday. We've got one NBA playoff game. Of course, it's Game 1 in the Western Conference Final tonight. The Dallas Mavericks and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Minnesota 4.5-point home favorites in Game 1, 207 the total. I know all I've heard is this long-term trend of these teams that play the 7-game series, and now they're a great fade in Game 1. And long-term they are, but don't tell that to the Indiana Pacers last night. What an effort by them! What an effort by them! And they should feel like they blew a golden opportunity last night because they played a hell of a game considering they're off a 7-game grueling series with the Knicks that ended Sunday afternoon, and they got to turn around and play Tuesday night Game 1, and it's a game they should have won. They were up 115-110 late in the fourth quarter, and that's going to be one where Indiana looks back on it and says, we blew a golden chance there last night. So does that mean Minnesota's the side here? Something you got to ask yourself here, because you've got the Timberwolves in the same spot as the Pacers, where they're off 7 games against Denver on Sunday, and now they're starting the conference finals tonight. Long term, it's not a good spot for these teams that played a 7-game series. But we did see Indiana cover last night. Does that make Minnesota the right side here? I think it's going to be a little more difficult for Minnesota. Dallas, a pretty good road team. Now, the one thing I fear, because I kind of lean Dallas here, first half +2.5, full game +4.5. But the one concern I do have for Dallas is they just haven't been good in these Game 1s here in the first 2 rounds. They lost to the Clippers in Game 1 of the first round. They got blown out by OKC in the first game of the second round. So there has been some issues with Dallas starting the series on time in the first 2 rounds. So it's not something I'm with full confidence in by any stretch. Not necessarily best bet material, but I do think Dallas, now that they're getting 4.5, is probably the way I would go. Like with last night, I made a case for the over there with the Pacers and the Celtics. And these are 2 teams that aren't going to play fast. And these are 2 teams that are very capable defensively when they're on their game. But it is still Game 1. And like I say, sometimes that first game of a series or that defensive intensity is not what it will be later in the series. Certainly, I mentioned that when it comes to the Stanley Cup playoffs, how often we see overs early in the series and unders later in the series. I could see something like that here tonight. So the over 207, I would lean that way here with the Mavs and the Timberwolves as well. C-Mac, what do you think here? West Final, Game 1.
Yeah, maybe when you go back, it's tough the regular season to look at these. Totals were way higher. All 4 games did go under, but they would get over this number. Like, I just don't think the Mavs can play really up and down in this game and try to win. The whole thing with me now at the T-Wolves, man, they're the favorites. It was a little bit, it was huge. They came back, won Game 6. I was all over, and they win Game 7. This unbelievable second half. I thought that's what it'd be. I think they win here. The problem is I just don't want to lay 4.5 points here with the T-Wolves, but I am going to this because I think it's too high. First half, I'm on the under 106. I'll dare them to shoot well and get to 107 or 108 because both teams got to be kind of on, and it can happen. And really, it's both teams in both quarters. So it's kind of like just takes one team on one of those quarters to keep this game under. And I trust the defense I have with both these teams. With these first half unders, they've been really, really good to me. So unlike that Pacers, which was just full go yesterday, there was nothing there. That pace was wild. I'll take the first half under 106. Where I think we're getting the bargain here. Full game, 207. This should be 101, 102. So it's just I think it's value play for me here because that's what I had this basically at. So under first half 106.
All right, under first half for CMAC here in West Final Game 1. Just quickly, looking ahead to, since we're obviously, this is our only show the remainder of the week. We're back on Monday. We'll look ahead to Game 2 tomorrow night, Celtics and Pacers, Game 2 in Boston. Look, people will say Boston, got away with one in Game 1. They're probably, maybe they lay the smack down. That was a wake-up call that they almost lost Game 1. There was not a moment in that game last night where I thought on any floor there was 9 points, 10 points of difference between the Pacers and the Celtics. And sure, Boston will play a lot better and has the potential to play a lot better tomorrow in Game 2. But if I'm Indiana, I'm coming to play because I don't want to go down 2-0. And I know I had this team dead to rights last night in Game 1, and I let them off the hook. So for me, it would be take the points with the Pacers, my first thought for Game 2 tomorrow night. What do you think here, C-Mac, Game 2 of the East?
Yeah, it seems like everyone's going to be now on the Pacers with these points. But the thing is, unless they have a bad shooting night or the Celtics change up a little bit their defense and a little bit of everything and maybe not go at that pace with the Pacers go back and forth, I think it'll be similar. I mean, those games, there were 2 blowouts, and that's what I have effect. Celtics play well, shoot it well, Pacers don't. They'll lose 118-101 like it happened earlier this year, a tight game like that. But all the rest of the games were just like last night. The 133-131, the 129-124 that I watched during the year. Unless that happens, I'll tip my cap Celtics. And it definitely could happen in Game 2 would be the one before they go out on the road. So it's tough for me. It's like you kind of just like Pacers or nothing. It's just a ton of points. You're getting almost 10 again. Unless they go ice cold, which they shot it crazy. What was the Game 7 best ever? And I thought they might not be. And man, they were great. Other than the first 4 or 5 minutes, then bang, 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 everyone was scoring. And they don't seem really scared of the Celtics too. Or the Celtics team just fucking, I don't know. There's no killer instinct with this team. And this is, they haven't won a title.
The offense is disjointed. It gets too much ISO and too much settle for threes with this group.
It does. It's kind of with either Tatum or Brown. It's kind of like they give it to them, and it's just ISO, and everyone's just kind of standing around at times. So, yeah, it's just this number's too big. It is weird though because I thought you'd go back and I'd grab the Pacers. Unless they're awful shooting, I think they're in it. And which could happen. They're just way off. Have a horrible shooting night. Celtics cover, but yeah, as of now, I haven't put a bet in.
I'll say this right now as well. I am one of those people that took over 5.5 games in this series, and it was a really good plus price. It was like plus 140, plus 145. I said, people are just thinking Boston's going to rip and roll over this team in 4 or 5. I think Indiana's being discredited and not given enough respect, in my opinion. And they showed it last night. They should have won that damn game. Let's be honest.
I know.
They should have won it. They should.
And they're athletic and deep to be with this Celtics team to hang around. Our guy Robin here. Yeah, I think the T-Wolves can. Well, there's no real shutting down Luka, but obviously he's got some well-needed rest a little bit, but maybe he's still banged up. I still think he gets his. The whole thing is Kyrie. If he can really go off and play big, then that would help out because he's gone to no man's land, Bobano, in these games. They're luckily Jones has played well, Washington, and they'll need more of that, here tonight, Game 1 of those guys. UNLV, Jones.
Go fight, win. Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Rub right there.
Yeah, like I said, Indiana, again, one thing about Indiana, too, is I remember the Knicks series. Remember Game 1? was a grueling, hard-fought loss, and you
Yeah,
wonder,
that was.
what a terrible, tough loss. How are they going to respond in game two? Well, they went in game two, and they played a hell of a game two in New York. They didn't get, we missed out winning game one. We're going to shrivel up and just get blown out in game two. That was not the case for Indiana in the New York series. When they had that game one performance, then in game two, they responded and were very competitive again in that game two as well with the Knicks. So that's something to keep in mind. I'm just looking at it right now with Indiana. Yeah, game one against the Knicks, they lost 121-117, and then they lost by 9 in game two, and they were right in that game as well.
Yeah, that slipped away a
Slipped
little
away
bit.
late.
But same thing with game one too. I thought. Yeah.
They didn't really get get deflated after losing game one in New York the way they did. And I don't think they'll get deflated here. I think they'll respond and they'll give a hell of an effort again and cover the numbers. So we'll see how it goes with that tomorrow night, game two in the NBA with the Eastern Conference Final. Last but not least, before we get to best bets and wrap up the show, Connor, we'll get your thoughts on both conference finals, the series and game ones in the NHL. Panthers, Rangers first. What do you think? East Final.
This is like a live bet game for me, Bobano. I don't know. I love the Rangers at home. I loved them all year. But I talked about the Panthers. I think are the best team. Get back and even win. I've said that all year long. This number's right where I think it should be. So you're not getting a ton of value unless you really, really like one of these teams. Then you look that way. So yeah, I have nothing. And the other one, I like. As much as I've shit on the Oilers, I like them here. I think they're like, we've got past it. They won 6 and 7, and they're like, even though I think the Stars team's very tough, I think they got a shot, especially if they can get goals early, and that's what I'm going to look to in that first game. Them early there and them on the money line in that first game against Dallas. There's a few guys like tonight, like Lafreniere. He's been great for me. And the guy's just been moneymaker for me all playoffs. He's been great scoring goals, shots. The guy's just been money. So I'll probably have something with him. And this is great to have, like I meant, live. So the live stream's huge to maybe jump on to see how these teams come out and feel each other out.
No doubt. I'm on the overs in game ones for both of them, especially tonight.
I wonder what we get though. I was wondering if it's real tight early, and then I was gonna maybe jump on the over. I kind of wanted to see it.
Yeah,
because I could see a real low scoring tight one, or I could see some goals right away. And
it's just that I go back to the first and the second round in these NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, and game ones have been higher scoring more often than not. And not to mention, it's unbelievable. We'll have to see if this trend continues. We are in the playoffs now, so if it's ever going to end this streak and this trend, maybe it's in this series. But 19 straight Rangers versus Panthers games have gone over 5.5. 19 straight.
Wow.
Yeah.
Between them? Regular season games?
Regular season mostly,
shit.
but now we're into the playoffs. Does it change? But 19 straight over 5, and I think the over's like 21-2 in the last 23 meetings between the Panthers and the Rangers. 9-1 in the last 10 meetings to the over. 21-2.
Wow, you're right. Yeah.
Meetings. Yeah.
Wow, every game's 4-3, 6-2, 5-3.
Look at it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, now you got me maybe want to put a little something on the silver.
Yeah, I mean, a first period and full game over for me tonight when it comes to Panthers and Rangers. Like I said, though, this is playoffs. Remember, all of this data and all these trends are regular season games. Now it's playoffs. So that's a little different, but still, sometimes styles make fights, and there's something to it that 19 straight Florida Panthers versus New York Rangers games have had at least 6 goals. And that's all you need, because obviously the total is 5.5 tonight here for game one. So looking forward to that. Betcast tonight, a reminder. I'll flash it up on the screen. I know this isn't the Ice Guys show, but we got to promote it. Ice Guys live Betcast tonight. There it is, 8 p.m. Oh, there we go, 8 p.m. Live betting and commentary. Rangers, Panthers, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. DM or email me or Alex, for that matter, to request a spot on the Betcast, and we will send you the link for it before it begins. We have a couple of special guests, Sammy P. Lou Finicaro, good old friend of mine from Met him in Las Vegas like a decade ago. I think he's still living in Arizona. Gamblu is his Twitter handle. He's great when it comes to UFC. He's one of the best minds out there when it comes to betting UFC, but he's a big
Nice.
hockey fan as well. He'll be joining us on the Betcast tonight. So it'll be a lot of fun. We're looking forward to it. Ice Guys Stanley Cup playoffs, East Final, live Betcast, game 1 tonight, Panthers and Rangers. All right, best bets to wrap up this edition of Bet with Bobano. C-Mac, what do you like here tonight for best bet?
Yeah, I'll give it. I got 106.5, minus 105. I'll take it. First half under here. Mavs, T-Wolves, I'll dare them to score. Under.
There you go. First half under with the Mavs and T-Wolves in game 1 of the NBA Western Conference Final. My best bet, it's going to be baseball for me, the best bet tonight. And I'm going to go with let me just see here. A couple good choices. Let's go with the Texas Rangers here. First 5, we'll isolate first 5 specifically with Texas here at around plus 105, plus 110. Just favoring, I think, the better arm in Dunning over Walker. Even though, obviously, this Philadelphia Phillies lineup's been on a roll, I still think that Dane Dunning can get the better of it in the first 5 innings. So Texas first 5 for my best bet here for this Wednesday card.
And there's some runs there, Bobano. There's not been a lot of 5.5 first 5. So there could be some, fireworks early there.
Oh, yeah. I'm on the over as well in that game. I probably at 9.5, I would have made the over my best bet, but 10, I'll go with the Texas first 5 instead now at that price. Great stuff. Shout out Subhuman Gaucho, Robert Oliver Carlson, and everyone in the chat. Hit the like button on the way out. Subscribe to the channel now so we can get the subscriber count up there for Bet with Bobano. Mondays and Wednesdays, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. Great show as always. Connor Mack, great job. For C-Mac, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Wednesday night. Ice Guys Live Betcast tonight for game 1. Don't forget about it. And we'll be back next week for another week of shows. Remember, bet like Tony Soprano, bet with Bobano, and we will see you again on Monday next week for another edition of Bet with Bobano.
Peace.